Okay, here we go with the quotient law. And I can't write and talk at the same time. I found a different color rainbow pen. So I'm using that this time. Righto, quotient, you may remember, is this symbol here, dividing. This is the dividing law. And it's very similar to the product law. It works like this. If I've got something like 3 to the power of 7 and I divide it by 3 to the power of 3, if any time you want to work out the answer, you know what to do. Write it out the long way. Let's go. 3 to the power of 7 is like this. 5, 6, 7. And we divide it by 3 to the power of 3. And this is where a refresher of your fraction understanding might come in handy. But the way this works is if you multiply by something and then divide by the same thing, you're right back where you started, where you started from. So we can cross off a multiply and a divide, cross off a multiply and a divide, and a multiply and a divide, and this is where we started from. So it's like we went 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 divided by 3 times 3 divided by 3. We cross all that stuff out. That's what we're left with. 3 to the power of 4 on top of a fraction. Now, when it's on top of a fraction, what does that actually mean? Well, I don't know. You really have to understand your fractions to get this, but this is multiplied by 1 and this is multiplied by 1. You're actually 3 to the power of 4 divided by 1, which is the same as 3 to the power of 4. So whatever's on the top of the fraction, if there's nothing else on the bottom, you just look at what's on the top. Okay, let's do another one. 5 to the power of 4 divided by 5, which we know is 5 to the power of 1. Right, so let's start by writing it out the long way. 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 divided by 5. Let's cross off something at the top and the same thing on the bottom. We're left with 5 to the power of 3. So the quotient law, maybe you've worked it out. Let's go back and have a look. We got 3 to the power of 7 divided by 3 to the power of 3. We can go 7 take 3 equals 4. We can go 4 take 1 equals 3. So the quotient law, nice and easy. Let's write that again. Quotient law. We take a number and raise it to this power, and then we divide it by the same number raised to another power. And our answer, our simplified form, is our number to the power of that one take that one. Right, you know with addition you can add things in either way, either order. 3 plus 4 is the same as 4 plus 3, but when you're taking away it's different. Right, so it's always the first one, take away the second one for the answer, the simplified form. Okay, so that should be straightforward initially. You just take this, get your first number, which is m in this case, take away the second number, and that is the power in your simplified form. Then it might get a little bit trickier. Okay, what if we had 3 to the power of 4, take away 3 to the power of 6. Now, using your quotient law, you can go, well, you can't go 6 take 4. It doesn't work like that. You have to do the first one, take away the second one. So you can go, well, 4 take 6 is minus 2. So here's some more maths you have to remember from your lower years. 3 to the power of minus 2. And what does that even mean? 3 multiplied by itself, what, less than once? Well, let's look at it. Let's expand it out and look at it and see if we can figure out what it means. So we've got 3 to the power of 4 divided by 3 to the power of 6. And we cross off, you know, a multiply and a divide because they cancel each other out. And we're left with 3 times 3 on the bottom of a fraction. And we know, of course, you don't just write a fraction like this. You have to put something on top, which is a 1 there, right? This is like 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 1. So it's 1 divided by 3 squared. So a negative index, instead of being a multiply, it's a divide. So 3 to the power of minus 2, let's write that down here somewhere. 3 to the power of minus 2 is the same as 1 divided by 3 to the power of 2. All right? So if you've got a negative index, you stick it on the bottom of a fraction and it becomes a positive index. You've got a negative index on the bottom, you stick it up the top and it becomes positive. Okay? Let's look at a couple of those. Sums for us that we can try to work out what to do. So we've got y to the power of minus 3, which we know is like saying 1 divided by y times y times y, or you could say 1 divided by y to the power of 3. Okay, so expressed with positive indices, we've just done that. B, x to the power of minus 4. That is 1 divided by x to the power of positive 4. That simple. The 3x to the power of minus 2 can be written as, that is, let's expand it, right? That is 3 times x to the minus 1 times x to the minus 1. And we can write that as 3 on top of the fraction because that's nice and positive, divided by x to the power of 2. Okay, next. Let's do that one more time because that is a little bit tricky. Let's do number F. Number F. 5b to the power of minus 3, which, you know, that's 5 times b to the power of minus 3. So you can rewrite that with the 5, that's positive, goes on top of the fraction, and the b to the power of negative 3, we'll put it on the bottom and make it a positive. Okay, let's try a trickier one. Let's do k. 3a to the power of minus 2b to the power of 4. Now remember, the best way to make sense of it is to expand. So we're going to go 3 times a to the power of minus 2 times b to the power of 4. 3 is to the power of 1, as you know, which is a positive number that goes on top of the fraction. A to the power of minus 2 goes on the bottom of the fraction and becomes a to the power of 2, and b to the power of 4 stays on the top. So the positive ones stay on top and the negative ones go underneath and become positive. I hope that helps. Here's a couple more. Rewrite with positive indices only. So if it's negative, it needs to go to the other side of the fraction. So we've got 1 over b to the minus 4, that's part A, is the same as saying b to the power of positive 4 on top of a fraction, and we don't got to write divided by 1 because we don't do that. It's assumed. We already know that b to the power of 4 is the same as b to the power of 4 divided by 1. Okay, next. Let's jump straight to G. We've got 5 times a to the power of 2. That's all positive. divided by b to the power of -3. So that's the bit that's negative. That's got to go on top of the fraction. So we're going to rewrite that as 5a squared b to the power of 3. Okay, anything that's negative goes to the other section of the fraction. I'm going to do one more here, and then I'm going to leave you to ponder this because it's a lot to take in. Let's do h. We got 4 divided by x to the power of 2, y to the power of -5. All right, 4 is positive, let's leave it on top. X to the power of 2 is positive, let's leave it where it is. Y to the power of -5 is the negative bit, so let's put that on the other section of the fraction. That's it. Have fun with that, and come back next time for powers of 0. Hang on, no, I can't go. Oh, yes, I can. I showed you the quotient law. Okay, bye.